In space, no one can hear you podcast. Today on Sci-Fi Weekly, we're talking about the Class trailer from the Doctor Who spinoff and Alien. Does it hold up? Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Sci-Fi Weekly.
Welcome back to Sci-Fi Weekly. We're here to talk about all the things science fiction out in the universe. I'm your host, Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ThatZachWilson. I'm joined by my co-host, Jesse Klein.
What up, everyone? I'm super excited to get into it, man.
Oh, yeah. Make sure that you guys are following us on Twitter and on Facebook at Sci-Fi Weekly. That's Sci-Fi, S-C-I-F-I, spelled correctly.
Yep.
And weekly, spelled the way you would expect.
Yep.
With 3 Z's and a Q.
Weekly as in we are not very strong.
But all right, so we're going to talk about the Class trailer that dropped this week.
Yeah.
We've got some possible UFO news from Hillary Clinton's WikiLeaks emails, and we're going to get into Alien, the original 1979 film. Does it hold up? But before all that, we got to look at this week's news, and we got to do it quickly. There's only one speed we can do it at.
Ludicrous speed! Go!
Well, folks, it looks like Benicio del Toro cannot live up to the promise that Arnold Schwarzenegger had in The Predator, as reports come out that he has officially pulled out of the new Predator movie, The Predator. The studio has replaced him with Morgan-starred Boyd Holbrook. Boyd reportedly got the job by standing outside the studio and yelling, "I'm right here! I'm right here, you son of a bitch! Come and get me!"
The Blade Runner sequel finally has a title, and it will be called Blade Runner 2049. Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, the entire internet was alive with the resounding sound of "sure, why not?" Sounds fine.
Nice, yeah.
24/9. Okay.
The development of Kevin Smith's Buckaroo Banzai may have come to a halt due to questions of whether or not MGM or the creator, Earl Mack, owns the rights to the cult classics. When Smith tried to secure those rights, the response was, "Oh yeah, not so fast, monkey boy."
We got our first look at Amber Heard's Mira this week from the upcoming Justice League movie. We saw her on Twitter coming out of the ocean in full armor. I know she's Aquaman's queen, but I just don't know if I can trust her. There's something about this that seems fishy.
It's fishy, I get it. More details of The Tick come out in New York Comic-Con. This week, most notably, we found out that Patrick Warburton is going to be appearing in the series as an homage to his original adaptation of the comic. He won't be donning the skin-tight blue costume, though, but my guess is he'll be like a retired police officer in a wheelchair, working part-time as a bodyguard for a super scientist and his 2 sons while wearing his signature 8-ball jacket. 8-ball.
Oh, man. It was announced this week that Haley Atwell will be returning to her role as Agent Carter, but in animated form. That's right, they said, also out of New York Comic-Con, that she's going to be teaming up with Howard Stark as well as Cap and Iron Man in the upcoming Avengers Secret Wars. They've yet to tell us what exactly she's going to be doing, how it's all going to play out, but I'm still waiting to know how I'm supposed to deal with being in love with a cartoon character. It's just a weird feeling. I don't know what to do with it.
Well, Zach, what are you going to do about that cartoon love?
I don't know. It feels...
More Marvel news. Kevin Feige confirmed that Captain Marvel is going to be an origin story. To this, Zach and I responded with, "Okay, enough with the talky talk. Now it's time to get filmy, okay? Shut your genius hole and make these movies. What are you doing? Give us something. A trailer, a picture. Oh, for fuck's sake, I'll take an animated GIF, and I'm sorry I swear, but Feige, you need to stop it and just do the movie."
Robert Zemeckis is back, tackling aliens again with his latest film called Blue Book. The film will follow Project Blue Book, which is a real-life government program that started in 1947 and ran, I believe, through the 80s. It was made to study UFOs and determine if they're real, and if they are real, are they a threat?
Interesting.
Now, Zemeckis, I just want you to be honest with the public. This is a documentary. This is all real. The UFOs are real. The government's been covering up all of this, you guys. You don't understand. You cannot let them silence.
Wow, that movie sounds great, Zach.
Yes, I'm looking forward to Blue Book, the fictional story from Robert Zemeckis.
Wow.
That's it for Ludicrous Speed. Let's move forward.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into I just picked out one story for news discussion this week.
Yeah, sure.
Because
It's a
it
big
stood
story.
out. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, if you guys, there's a lot of trailers that came out of New York Comic Con. Iron Fist, they dropped the trailer for.
Oh, yeah.
They gave us a snippet of the Doctor Who Christmas special.
Mm-hmm.
But more than that, I wanted to check out the trailer for Doctor Who spinoff Class.
Sure.
Because this was the most just like completely new footage, even if it's not a brand new show.
Yeah.
Because it's a spinoff.
Yeah,
But this looked great.
Yeah, it looks really fun.
If you guys haven't seen it, jump over to BBC's YouTube page and check it out. This surprised me in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. What do you think of the trailer?
It reminded me a lot of, I don't know if you saw the series, but The Misfits, which was a BBC original show for Hulu, and it's about a bunch of teen young offenders who get superpowers, but all they do with the superpowers is just kind of be lame jerks with him. It's a really good series. If you have Hulu, I recommend watching The Misfits. It's great. But the thing that captured, and what the trailer really captured as well, is like what the like being in high school experience is, and then also mixed with science fiction craziness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it seems like it's very it's going to really focus on, because we got that blend of like monsters.
Yeah.
And we got the kids like dealing with just like, I'm a kid, like I've got problems and like I have a crush on a boy.
You in the computer with a boy.
That was a great
Yeah.
That was a great one, because like they were probably discussing like,
Saving the world.
yeah, like the world's about to collapse, and then mom busts in, you can't talk to a boy in here.
Yeah. British television is really good at capturing kind of that angsty teen feel. Because with Skins and Misfits and now this show, it feels like it's got that really nailed down. So it's interesting to see like BBC style angsty teen mixed with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like they started like they showed us like a lot of pieces of it. Like right here, if we take a look, this is like it looks like it's a tear in space time.
Yeah.
The design very specifically reminds me of the crack in the wall,
yeah.
but like from the series 5 premiere run. Just like the way the light forms around it. So this like is probably a portal to another part of the universe. The way that like opened up into a prison.
Yeah.
And I love that they're like this is just familiar enough of a design that we can like it feels like Doctor Who. Because the rest of it, well, I guess more like series like 9, which we just saw, and like 8 and 9 like had like really heavy special effects.
Yeah,
and
for
looked
sure.
really smooth in ways that it never has before.
Yeah, the best Doctor Who special effects ever.
Yeah, and like that's where like we got this like lava monster.
Yeah.
Wow.
It looks cool.
This was the one that like I was like, wait a minute. I part of me was like, wait a minute, am I still watching Class?
Yeah.
The Class trailer?
Yeah, it felt very much like, I think you nailed it on the head, where it still feels like a Doctor Who show.
Yeah.
Much like how like Torchwood until its later seasons felt like a Doctor Who show. until like a little bit later, and it kind of developed its own mythos and its own world. But at first it felt very Doctor Who-like, and it seems like they're going the same way with this show.
I don't know. Well, like, yes and no, because then we see, like, a sword.
Yeah.
Like, one of the girls is holding a sword in her hand.
Yeah, because the Doctor's never wielded a sword and had his arm cut off.
This looked like this could have been from, like, this shot, if you look at it, could have easily been from, like, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I'm going to guess it's Excalibur. I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, if these are teens that are destined to defend the world, then of course you would have Excalibur, like, come in and play a part.
Do you think it's actually, you think actually it's Excalibur?
I think it's real Excalibur.
That'd be cool if Excalibur was actually, like, this crazy sci-fi sword.
Yeah.
That, like, glowed with lava.
Yeah, that, like, there to help protect the world.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past Doctor Who to put Arthurian myth into, like, the class or whatever, and make, like, King Arthur, like, a world famous.
I feel like he's visited King Arthur before.
But, like, adding on to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, that kind of stuff that they could use, like, even without time traveling, because this is not going to be a time travel show.
But if it's like a relic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see them, like, weave in and out of old Doctor Who mythology.
Yeah, that'd be
way.
really cool. While building their own mythology.
Yeah, which, like, and then because we got to get the Doctor,
Gotta
and
get him
they've
in
already confirmed that Peter Capaldi will be in the premiere for Class. So it only seemed appropriate that they put him in the trailer. They're trying to get people to watch the show.
Yeah, that's just clearly they just need people to, like, Doctor Who fans to also watch this. But I also feel like if you're not a Doctor Who fan, but if you're like a teenager in Great Britain or the United States, you could also be a fan of this show.
Yeah.
And it could cross over, like, this could be the show that gets you into Doctor Who.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's happened with, maybe not with, like, Torchwood. That's a little harder to get into without the Doctor Who lore. But, like, I loved him showing up, like,
I feel like a lot of American fans became, like, with him showing up in Harry Potter, not Doctor Who, but David Tennant. Like, that was their crossover moment.
Huh. I don't know if that's true or not.
I mean, there's no way to prove it, so I'm saying yes, it is. It's 100% true. You can't prove me wrong.
But I love the teacher that we saw a lot more of her in this, played by Catherine Kelly.
Yeah.
And, like, she looks scary.
Yeah, she's doing some.
And she's like, I am war. So whoa.
She's doing some Doctor Who diatribes.
And you get the sense that she is going to be, like, leading these kids, like, from this trio. Like, I thought she might be an adversary for them, but it looks like she's going to be, like, leading them, but almost like this is her reluctantly. This is who has to, like, fight against the monsters with.
This is like Science Club, and, like, the teacher wants to be doing their own, like, wants to leave after school, but they have to stay behind and teach Science Club and, like, maybe get, you know, a little bit more money on the side because they're teaching Science Club. And it's like she just has to deal with these science nerds.
I loved the moment at the end of the trailer.
Yep. I know the moment.
It was so just like, because here's the thing, like, Doctor Who, because they travel so much through time, pop culture is not, they don't usually make major pop culture references. Like, the biggest one I can think of recently was, like, Twitter. And, like, they'll mention Star Wars here and there.
Yeah.
But nothing, like, really direct, just because, like, it doesn't make sense in the circumstances. And also, how would the Doctor know? Because he's not staying there long enough to watch all of our TV. Yeah,
if you're in Dickensian England, it's hard to make a pop culture reference.
Yeah. And the companions will bring some of it here and there. But the fact that they had it, like, that they are talking about, like, the rip in space time, and then one of the kids just, I did a double take, or listen, we're just like, was it like a hellmouth?
Yeah.
So are you and, like, they're calling out, like, and they're calling out sort of the similarities, I think, between this show and others. Like, a lot of people have referred to this as, including myself, have referred to this as Buffy within the Doctor Who universe, or, like, Vampire Diaries. Like, I didn't personally put that moniker on, but they call it, it's like, oh, it's gonna be, like, for the Vampire Diaries audience, or the like all this. It's the CW shows.
Yeah.
Like they know this is the CW at like Doctor Who show.
And within that, there are a lot of sexy moments in this trailer. A lot of steamy moments with like teens making out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, including
Which I think is like we'll get that CW audience into it.
Yeah, including the gay relationship that they teased us with early on in production. That they're like not shying away from it at all,
Nope.
or even keeping it hidden. They're just showing us straight up. So this show looks this looks even better than I thought it was going to from this trailer.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I can't wait to legally watch it.
Yeah, Kristian Blatt thinks this class could definitely be the gateway show to the Doctor.
There you go.
It's like Adventures in Babysitting meets Xavier's School for the Gifted meets Doctor Who.
That's awesome. That's
It's a ridiculous explanation, Kristian, but I respect it.
I think he went out of his way to make it better.
Yep. All right, let's talk about sci-fi in real life. This week's was so I feel like we need to preface this with a like asterisks.
Yeah.
Because before we came in here, there's some so the story this week, Hillary Clinton, obviously if you've been following politics and even the slightest bit, you know that there's obviously the massive email leak, and WikiLeaks has been like putting stuff out and threatening to put stuff out, and it's been this whole saga. But regardless of all that and politics and all that, there's some interesting stuff in one of them that might be info on UFOs.
And also, if you remember early on when she was campaigning, one of the things she said is she would release the Area 51 information if she was president. Yeah,
I believe the quote was, if I was elected president, assuming it doesn't present any national security risk.
Yeah.
So she gave herself that little out.
Yeah, sure.
I don't see why we couldn't release information on Roswell.
Which, I mean, awesome, do that.
Yeah. Unless like it's about the fact that aliens are coming and they've got like a bajillion like laser bombs that are going to blow us all to hell.
Well, that's not national security, that's global security, so she could still release that.
The nation is part of the globe.
Sure.
But anyway, we preface this because like it has come out that some of the emails that have supposedly been leaked have been
forged. Or faked.
So we don't know how it's like with that, and like it was right before we came in, so we cannot verify. But I pulled this stuff from the Wall Street Journal, so blame them.
Yep.
But anyway, one of the emails was a conversation between John DePodesta, who is Clinton's current campaign manager and a former advisor to the Obama administration, and between him and Tom DeLonge of Blink-182.
Secretary of the Interior, Tom DeLonge of Blink-182.
But like they had apparently been having a conversation about UFOs, and DeLonge is like producing a documentary about it.
Yeah.
And he's been going back and forth with DePodesta, who like famously like put out a tweet like after he left the Obama administration that his biggest disappointment was that he didn't get to release find and release like all the Roswell information.
Yeah.
So this is a guy who like probably believes.
Yeah.
Like we all do.
He's
on your side, John.
He's got the poster.
Yeah. He wants to believe.
Yeah.
But he's talking about General McCasland, who I guess runs the lab that the whatever crashed in Roswell was taken to.
Yeah.
And this is the quote. He just has to say that out loud, but he is very aware that he was in charge since he was in charge of all this stuff.
Yeah.
So of the guy of General supposedly the guy that ran the lab that this stuff went to believed that it was real, but he could not say that in public.
Yeah.
So he had to pretend to be a skeptic. So do with that information what you will.
I mean,
but I found it very fascinating that like somebody as high up as John DePodesta is even like having conversations about UFOs.
I mean, what I get from that is basically aliens confirmed, there are extraterrestrials on Earth living with us. That's what I interpret that as.
I mean, we just gotta get Clinton in there, make sure it's not a national security threat, and then we'll get our answers.
That's the only reason why I'm voting for her is because of aliens.
Look, Obama's still got time. Clinton can do the same thing. Whoever's in there, just remember, you can secure your legacy forever as the president who outed extraterrestrial life on Earth.
That's true.
Just saying, like, if you're ever trying to like make a stamp on your presidential career, remember that.
Yeah, that's true.
Of all the important things you could do,
this is
releasing
the most important
Roswell
to us.
information,
And that's the state of the United States.
could be your legacy. And all right, with that, let's get into our final topic.
Yeah.
Or our big topic for today.
Yeah, speaking of aliens, we're going to do our segment we do every once in a while, which is Does It Hold Up? Where we take like a classic science fiction or older science fiction. We did it with The Matrix. And we talk about whether or not it still holds up today.
Yeah, this is something we've done a couple times, and now we're going to make it more of a regular
Like a segment,
to talk about classic movies. So if you guys have any ones that you want us to cover in the future, put it in the comments. Let us know like what you want to see, because then we'll know what to plan out for the future. Like there's a lot of big like new releases coming up in November and December, but we definitely want to keep covering classic stuff.
Yeah, and today we're covering the classic Ridley Scott Alien. And let's take a look at the original trailer.
I don't know that I've seen the trailer,
It's
actually.
one of the best trailers of all time.
I do still love, and I loved it in the movie, like the lines coming together to form the logo.
And the sound design is so good.
I mean, it's creepy. Like that's the thing. Like the creepy factor of it doesn't go away with time.
Yeah. I love that it's an egg. You think it's a planet, and it ends up being an egg.
Yeah. I mean, playing with, and we'll talk about this more extensively, playing with expectations that way is something that's such a hallmark of the movie itself that, of course, the trailer would have it as well. Cat.
Jonesy.
It's interesting. You see,
In space, no one can hear you scream.
oh man, a great tagline.
Yeah, it's such a good tagline.
It's interesting because in that trailer, you like having just rewatched it yesterday, you can see like almost all of the movie in there, but I don't feel like it gives away anything.
And the thing is, and it's like against all horror movie trailer, like the horror movie trailer kind of logic is almost always that the story doesn't sell a horror movie. What sells a horror movie is the creature. And in that trailer, you don't see any of the creature at all. You see a little bit of the facehugger in like a flash, but you don't see anything of the creature. You don't see the xenomorph at all. That's not how modern day horror movies advertise. They usually show you a money shot of the creature.
Yeah.
And that you don't get that in that trailer.
I mean, that's like the big thing. Like, this is very similar to Jaws.
Yeah.
In that way, in the way the monster is treated.
Yeah.
It's scarier to not see, especially when all of your effects were practical, like the 70s.
Yeah. So, Zach, you hadn't seen the movie and you said like 5 years until you saw it yesterday?
At least. I think I was in college the last time I watched this movie. Like, I've seen Aliens more recently, but the actual, like, Alien, I don't, like, it was definitely college.
So just so we're completely open and honest, Alien might be my favorite movie of all time, so I'm completely biased in this. But for you, you hadn't seen it. You hadn't seen it in a while. What are your first impressions coming out of it?
It's still really good.
Yeah.
Like this is like we've said it so many times, and so many people say it, but
Yeah.
like using practical effects for even something as massive scale as a spaceship
Yeah.
helps it hold up in ways that films from much later down the line don't.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the big thing is the effects don't, except for like one or two things, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
The effects don't like hold the movie back at all.
No, not at all.
And that was the thing that I noticed most.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's well built, like it's well written. It all in all, it seems to hold together, like with only small things, and like let's get into it, like
Yeah,
all the pieces of it.
Yeah, so this movie is called a sci-fi horror film. It's really just hard sci-fi. Like, it's a science fiction movie, and it has that type of pacing, which to me, I don't know if you can release this film in 2016. Like, I don't know if you can release a movie and have it be as big and like have it have so much studio backing as Alien did, because it's paced incredibly slowly. You don't get a lot of information about anyone. You kind of put that information, like, Dallas is kind of like the cocky captain, and like, oh, that's the creepy guy who has all the porno mags in his corner, and like, oh, she's kind of stuck up, but is like still belongs on this crew of space truckers, and like that kind of thing. But like, none of that is ever
Space truckers.
That's what they are.
I mean, it's totally accurate. It's
Yeah.
just really funny to hear the words said aloud.
Yeah, they're space truckers. And those Dormu has like 2 billion like pounds of ore on it or something like that. And like even the nose Dormu itself looks like it's it's such a weird, like, it's not aerodynamic at all. It's not meant for flying in an atmosphere. It's like weird, like teardrops,
Yeah.
like, put together.
It doesn't need, I mean, it shouldn't need to. Like,
Yeah.
the idea, like, of, and you can see a lot of that stuff at work here. I mean, there's some sci-fi concepts that don't quite hold weight, like gravity.
Sure, yeah.
It doesn't behave correctly.
Yeah.
In this world, unless you have like a gravity manipulation
Centrifugal, yeah.
device.
Which they don't get into. But
Yeah.
they don't get into a lot of it. Like, it doesn't try to explain a lot of the science or like the history. Like the space jockey, when they land on the planet, there is a dead giant alien with its face in a machine, and that's never addressed. It's just like there, and it's like, well, okay, we're here to collect samples or whatever, and they're going and like exploring, but like there's all of this world that's just left open for interpretation.
Yeah.
And nothing gets explained. And I think that is a great device that I think Ridley Scott was really using, that like when you're living your life and something horrific like this happens, nothing gets explained. Like, you don't get a satisfying explanation. Like, just something happens and you're part of it. And so we were experiencing the xenomorph and what happened at the same pace that the crew was experiencing it.
Yeah. Did you feel at all that and that Prometheus or any, like, because like the sequels do a little bit more to explain the backstory of the alien, do you think that it stepped on it at all?
I mean, I think Alien works great as part of a series, and I also think it works great as a standalone movie. Like, I don't feel like Aliens or Alien 3 or Prometheus or any of the Alien versus Predator movies like taints this movie. I think it works great as a standalone movie, and also it works great as part of Alien 1, 2, 3, and 4. It also is a great stepping stone for that. Mm-hmm. I think the sound design in this movie is the best out of any movie ever. It's so good. I love the scenes where they're in the ship and everyone's talking and you can like hear the like clink of the cereal bowls, and like you can hear everyone like having these conversations, and you're getting just like little snippets of information, but nothing's being spoon fed to you. And you're like, oh, they're talking about a trucking job they had before, and like, oh, he's talking about how he's looking forward to seeing the women back on Earth, and like all of this kind of stuff. And it just feels, it allows you to feel like you're on the ship with them almost immediately.
Yeah.
And even like the scene, like we'll get later on it, but the scene with Ash, like he speaks over Ripley a bunch in that scene. Like she's putting things together, and he like interrupts her and speaks over important dialogue. And I had a film teacher who said this, and I've not been able to ever confirm it, but he said that as the movie goes on, Ridley Scott, just like you can't perceive it, but your ear does. He lowers the volume on the dialogue and raises the volume on the background volume as the movie goes on by imperceivable amounts if you're listening for it, but like your ear will hear it, and it just makes you feel uneasy as the movie goes on. I don't know if that's true. I've not been able to confirm it, but
I mean, I can tell you that rewatching this yesterday was probably one of the most I've had to play with volume, or that I have played with like volume.
yeah,
To the point where I almost turned on subtitles at one point. So
Yeah.
if it is intentional, like I see it.
then that I think that might have been intentional by Ridley Scott for sure.
Yeah. He didn't use it to the extent where like Interstellar used it.
No.
To where it was like frustrating
Yeah.
at times. Like where it was like, I understand now that you're doing this intentionally, but it doesn't feel like you are. So
Yeah.
it's stepping on the scene. It's separating me from. I'm outside the movie now because
Because there's so much loudness.
yeah.
Well, let's get into the characters.
Yeah.
Because again, like this is a horror movie, 1979 horror sci-fi movie, and the main character you would think was either like Tom Skerritt as Dallas, who is like the captain. He's like a classic like captain type character. He's swarthy. He's cool. He's kind of like an action guy, or like one of the more established actors that are also in this movie. William Hurt would also, you would like going into it, you'd be like, oh, it's probably either one of these two guys is the main character. And you don't really get who the main character is until about halfway through the movie. Because you get Dallas, like he's like a classic action kind of hero captain guy.
Yeah.
Like
With about like like how long was it before like we really were focusing on Ripley?
it's like 2/3 into the movie. like Ripley's just like a member of this crew.
Yeah, but it did always feel like she was the one who was being smart at every turn.
That's true, yeah. But again, like I feel like if you're an average audience watching this for the first time, you probably don't expect her to be the main character.
Yeah.
Which she ends up being.
Well, especially at the time. Like, I mean, for me, it was that interesting thing of like, because even when I first saw this movie, like,
Yeah.
I always knew that Ripley was the hero.
Yeah.
I never had the experience of going into this cold.
Yeah, same here.
Like, I mean, for example, like for me, I can't see the chest burst scene
Yeah.
without thinking of Spaceballs, because I saw Spaceballs first.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, like my parents were much more willing to let me watch Spaceballs than Alien. So like it because they use the same actor, like it just
Yeah.
and it's so perfect. And when you see both,
It's-
it makes Spaceballs just infinitely funnier.
Yeah, for sure.
But I can't help but giggle a little bit during that scene because it bursts out and I just want to like hello my baby, hello my honey, and that's all I see.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for
it's
Alien,
like one of the most iconic horror moments.
Yeah.
In,
and all I see is the WB frog.
yeah. I didn't see it. Like, I knew Ripley was the main character too, just because I feel like I'd seen like highlights or something like of Aliens. So like I saw the power loader scene before I saw Alien. I hadn't seen I hadn't seen Spaceballs yet, but yeah, I never had that experience of not knowing that Ripley was the main character. But you can see that's how they're making this movie. And when you think about like what this story's allegories are, what it stands for, you know, they used H.R. Giger, who is a guy who uses a lot of like sexually explicit kind of forms and art to kind of make his weird art. And like this movie itself is a lot of like has a lot of like sexual assault allegories, has a lot of like
Does it?
What's her name? The woman who dies via tail is basically a rape scene. The end of it, the movie ends with Ripley in her basically naked, aborting a penis monster out of the ship.
I did not see that interpretation at all. Although I did make a note like that the way that they do that scene is another reason that the horror of this movie is so well structured.
Sure.
Like, look, we're running a little low on time, so I want to make sure that we talk about like that, just like the structure of the movie as a horror and the pacing.
Yeah, sure.
Like, it was so strong, and I think that's part of why the answer to would like and let's get to exceptions before right before we wrap. Like, with some exceptions, like, this movie overall does hold up because of the pacing, because it follows such simple horror structure, but it follows it so perfectly that there's never a question. And so like that back scene where she's like in her underwear, she's like, the music itself activated this feeling of safeness. Relief, it felt like this was like, oh, okay, this is where she shoots off into the sunset and the credits roll and like it's okay. But and then she even like strips down and we're all,
it's like vulnerable.
It is vulnerable as she could possibly be.
Yeah.
To the point where she's like tossing her jewelry like just onto the floor. Because she's like, well, I'm the only one here. I know because that's my attitude.
Yeah, sure. If you guys don't know, Zach wears a lot of jewelry.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that and like, especially because it brings up the question of like, who is the bad guy in this movie? Because I would argue the xenomorph is not bad. The xenomorph is just like an aspect of nature. It's just a creature.
It's an animal.
It's an animal. Whereas Ash, who is the android, represents the Weyland-Yutani company and basically said like, all of the crew can die as long as you get the specimen. Everyone can die, and as he sees how perfect and beautiful this animal is, he goes a little nuts and attacks the crew when they find out that that's the secret objective.
Yeah.
And like literally chokes Ripley with a porno magazine. Like,
yeah, that got real dark.
Yeah. And is like spewing all of this like milk out of his neck. Apparently robots need milk.
I think it's
hydraulic fluid.
Yeah, although like he would have had to eat, right?
Well, if you notice,
just for cover.
If you notice in the chestburster scene, he's the only one not eating.
Yeah, but like you couldn't live on the ship with somebody for that long,
yeah.
like without like if they're really putting him in like on the down low.
Yeah.
Then they would have had to put in some function. So that, like, even if it's just occasionally that he goes and like puts something in and it just like goes down as like into a
servos.
Yeah, like whatever. If I never saw someone eat, I would be suspicious.
Especially if you were around them 24/7.
Yeah, these people live together in a tiny ship for months on end.
Yeah. And to the chestburster scene, it's one of the most iconic moments in like horror and film in general. If you haven't seen the movie, you have to. It's one of the best science fiction movies ever. The best part about that scene is that the actors did not know it was going to happen. They did not tell them that there was going to be a creature bursting out of this John Hurt doll. They just said, act like he's sick, act like you've got to hold him down, and that's it. So like those first like, oh my god, and like what the hell is going on? Like all of that is 100% genuine. Ridley Scott just had it happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
That chestburster scene is so good.
On the debate of who the bad guy is here,
Yeah.
Bruce Lee in the chat says Ash was programmed, so he's not the bad guy either.
No.
The company is the evil.
Yeah, Wayland Yutani, and this was made in 1979. This was an important part in American history. It was the very end of the disenfranchised movement with filmmaking, and this kind of is the transition from disenfranchisement to excess in the 80s. And after the Vietnam War, Americans kind of were waking up to the fact that you can't always trust the government. You can't always trust Vietnam War, Nixon. You can't always trust the government. You can't always trust businesses. That businesses care about their bottom line sometimes more than they do about the people that work for them.
Yeah.
And so this is a movie that is very much inspired by that, and is about that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
So
computer. If you could let us know how much time we have. We have a computer. Is Steve today?
Yeah, computer.
Our system technology
Environmental
environmental
Verification?
vector engine
electronics.
is who we've got in the chat.
Yeah. Hello, computer.
Computer is even creepier than normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, just let us know how much time we have left, computer. And let's
So what doesn't hold up for you,
So
Zach?
for me, the monster held up, like the creature held up 95% of the way.
I know exactly
and
what
it's
moment
the
you're going to
same
talk about.
thing as Jaws is like the fear of it and like the buildup of it is
Yeah.
so strong because you only see pieces of it.
Yeah.
But the moment it gets zapped into space
Yeah.
and you see it in full body
Yeah, you're like,
and it's
"Ooh."
so clearly a dude in a suit
Yep.
flopping around is the moment that it loses the scariness.
That moment and the moment where Dallas is in the ducks and he turns and it's right there and he's just like, "Hey guys," because you could see the gloves, like you could see that they were just gloves.
Yeah, I mean it was like because even that I could like slide by at least a little bit. It was quicker, but then the wide shot, it was just
final
like you
moment
see everything.
Guy in a suit.
Yeah, but like other than that moment, it's still a well-built horror movie. Would it like? Here's the question: when we ask, does it hold up? Could you show this to someone? Let's say, could you take a 16-year-old today,
Yeah.
an 18-year-old today, and it's rated R, and show them this movie and not have them be like, whatever, this is old.
I think you could. I think you would have to get them to agree with the pacing. Because there's a lot of like just wide shots where nothing happens except for like a dot moves across the stars.
Yeah.
Or, you know, just like big wide shots where you're just hearing people eat and nothing's really happening. I think they would be, I think they would get on board after about a half hour of the movie. I think you'd have to, if you could get them to watch a half hour, even while they're on their phone,
They'd then be engaged.
they'd then be engaged after that half hour. But I think I've seen this movie 15 times. I still think it's legitimately scary and legitimately disturbing. I think Ian Holmes' performance as Ash is really creepy. And like seeing, you know, when he's attacking Ripley and he's just stone-faced and like zero emotion, zero feeling. And after he gets hit on the head and he starts freaking out and like rolling across the wall is really creepy. I think the design of the ship, the minimalist, it looks like it's a Swedish coffee maker. It looks really good. Like even the talking to Mother, like that entire room and scene is really cool and interesting.
Yeah, I did question like the room with Mother, and Mother itself is like a very interesting thing where it's like their computer is basically their leader.
Yeah.
And they can only communicate with it by text.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. Like, I guess because it cuts out, like, you couldn't communicate directly with Earth.
Yeah.
So you have to have like a computerized version of like HQ.
Yeah.
But all the lights around in that room, like,
Yeah.
what do all of these lights mean?
I don't know. It looks great.
Like, but like legitimately, like part of me thinks like maybe there is like a logic to this. It's like a language you have to learn to read.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's just like a lot of flashing lights with no labels.
A lot of LEDs.
Yeah,
It's just
no labels.
It's just to look.
Yeah, there's a photo of Mother.
But again, like all of the design is amazing. Just looks really, really cool.
It looks like that gritty, like this would be a like
trucker.
a trucker version of a spaceship, because it's like no need to hide the pipes or anything. It ends up being sort of their doom because the alien is able to hide in all the exposed like piping and everything. But you wouldn't make a truck pretty.
Yeah, for sure.
This is what it would look like.
Yeah, and for me, like, it's still a legitimately scary movie. I think people would still be scared if they saw this movie.
And it doesn't have, there are jump moments, but it's not.
Mostly with Jonesy. I believe this movie introduced is that the creature? No, it was a cat.
Gotta have the cat, man.
Meow.
Any last thoughts on Alien?
I'm glad we got to watch it again. It's one of my favorite movies. I watch it once a year. It's just, for me, it's a movie that you can tell the director loved it and spent so much time thinking about it. And for me, that's my favorite type of artist, is like someone you can tell every aspect was important to them and they spent time thinking about how everything fit into the world they were creating.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, rewatching this got me more excited for Ridley Scott's new Alien movie.
Yeah.
So we're excited to see that when it does finally come out. So that's going to do it for Sci-Fi Weekly, guys.
Yeah.
We're going to have to skip over Moment of the Week just in the interest of time, because we get booted out of the studio.
Yep.
But we'll be back next week. We're going to be reviewing Shin Godzilla.
I'm so excited.
The new Godzilla film that came out. Check your local listings because it's in a limited amount of theaters across the country. But it's out this week and next week. So we're going to go check it out, I think, tomorrow. And then report back next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Until then, I've been your host, Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ThatZachWilson. Be sure to tune in this Saturday when Jesse and I are going to finish our after show watch of Luke Cage. We're covering episodes 11 through 13, finishing out the show and all of our thoughts on it. We're going to be joined in the first hour at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time by the costume designer.
Yeah, it's going to be super exciting.
And trust me, if you haven't watched those episodes yet, there's some costume stuff to talk about. Jesse?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number 1. I did Aristocrits recently. It's over on the Jash Play Network. I got to play D&D for 3 hours with some of my comedy friends. It was really fun. Also, you can see me coming up on the You Should Love Wrestling podcast. That's where I did a podcast where I tried to convince comedian Stephen Perlstein to like wrestling with my other comedian friends, Joey Clift and Nick Gligger. That's over at Boardwalk Audio. Other than that, Haymaker, my sketch team, has its year anniversary show Wednesday the 19th. If you're in Los Angeles, come to the Pack Theater at 10:30, and we're going to have an amazing show. Just to let you know, this is the things that didn't get in the show. We tried to get a live tiger on stage. That didn't get in the show.
They're still working on things almost as insane.
Yeah.
Insane. All right, guys, that has been Sci-Fi Weekly. Let us know your thoughts on Alien and whether or not it held up in the comments below. Keep the conversation going. Until next week, keep looking for your lab coat, because then eventually you'll learn to be a scientist. Good night.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.